The following is a Cartoonerific Studios presentation.
Welcome to Cartoon Fun, it's Cartoonerific. Yeah!
It's Cartoonerific. Cartoonerific. It's Cartoonerific. With your host Brian Mitchell.
Well, this is the Cartoonerific podcast, Classic Animated Cartoons. And I am your host, Brian Mitchell. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. We have a guest with us, and we're going to be talking about three cartoons that we selected, and we happened to watch them. I haven't seen them in a long time, and we haven't seen them in a long time, but we're going to be talking about those cartoons from the big three studios in the first golden age of animation, from Disney, from Warner Brothers, and from MGM. So we'll be doing that in a minute or two. Just want to point out, we are now on YouTube and YouTube Music. Finally, that happened. And you can go to YouTube, pull up Cartoonerific, and all our episodes will come up. And there is a subscribe button. If you want to hit that button, you will be notified every time a brand new episode is uploaded for your enjoyment. So once again, we are now on YouTube and YouTube Music. So if you want to check us out there, that's fine. Or you can continue to get the podcast from Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Alexa, any one of these. And that will be fine and dandy with me. We're going to be talking about these three classic cartoons. And I decided to bring in our Cartoonerific News host, Miss Marjorie Stewart, and she's here. How are you doing, Marjorie?
I'm well. How are you?
I am great. And so we watched these three we actually watched more than three cartoons, but we decided on these three to talk about for the podcast. And the cartoons are from Warner Brothers, A Bear for Punishment from 1951. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then Pigs is Pigs, which I love the film, and I actually like all of these. And then the other one is a Tom and Jerry short from 1947 called Dr. Jekyll and Mr Mouse, directed by Bill and Joe Hanna-Barbera.
Those were fun to watch. I've never seen any of them. Again,
Right.
and
Right.
yeah, they were a lot of fun.
Right.
But one thing you mentioned, and I thought it was very interesting, is that right when we finished the last one, you said, these were fun. I really enjoyed them. I've always liked them, but they would never be made today.
They would never be made today. And I think with all of them that there's something. And I mean, you might be thinking with Tom and Jerry, oh, it's the violence. And that's the reason why that may not be made today. That's not what I was thinking about on that. We'll talk about it in a minute. But A Bear for Punishment for other reasons. And Pigs is Pigs is, very stereotype characters. So all great shorts. And two of them were nominated for Academy Awards. Pigs is Pigs and the Tom and Jerry short, Dr. Jekyll and Mr Mouse. They're both nominated for Academy Awards. Didn't win, but that's fine. They were honored anyway. So let's get right into it. So what short you want to start off with? You want to start off with Pigs is Pigs?
I do. I liked Pigs is Pigs a lot.
Okay. So Pigs and Pigs is a short from 1953-54. And like I said before, it was Academy Award nominated and didn't win. But I think another Disney short did. And I want to say Toot Whistle Plunk and Boom. And, a lot of people have seen that short. And I didn't want to talk about that one. I want to talk about Pigs is Pigs because I think it's cute. It was directed by...
it's fast.
It's only, 6 or 7 minutes. And... the cartoon was animated by one guy, Now, there might have been other people involved, but they only gave credit to one person.
Wow.
And it was an animator named John Sibley who worked on a lot of the features at the time, like Peter Pan, which was about the same time. Probably he worked on this in between that and Lady and the Tramp. But he was one of their not one of the 9 old men. They called their 9 top people the 9 old men after the Supreme Court justices.
Oh, that's funny.
And that was Walt Disney that actually termed that. He called them his 9 old men of animation. But John Sibley was never part of that group, but he was an excellent animator. And the guy who directed the short was a man by the name of Jack Kinney. Mm-hmm. And Jack Kinney was an excellent director. He directed the Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Oh, yes.
Which is, you've seen it.
You talked about it.
Yes, it's one of my favorite Disney films. Mm-hmm. But he did a lot of goofy shorts, which were a lot of very, very funny goofy shorts. So he's an excellent director. So what did you like about?
So did he direct the skiing? Goofy tries to go skiing.
He probably did, but I don't know for sure. He directed the bulk of them. There was one short called Double Dribble, which was actually directed by another director named Jack Hanna, which was a very funny cartoon. But John Sibley was known for doing Jack Kinney was known for doing some very, very funny cartoons at Disney. And so very talented guy. But anyway, what were your initial thoughts on the picture?
Who wrote the poem? The whole thing is a poem.
It's a poem, and I don't have it. I don't have the information.
Oh.
I'll have to look that up.
It was fast. I mean, you have to be really quick on your toes to listen to all of it. Almost sounded like the poem was written at like the turn of the century.
It probably was, yeah.
Sound like it was from 1953, the language that they were using.
It's very, very possible. Well, the picture came out in 1953, so there are 54. I think they were working on it during 53 and probably went into wide release in 54, but
it's just like, it's almost like it's one really long limerick.
It is.
Right?
It sounds like it, yeah.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I missed some of it because it was so fast.
Yeah. What'd you think of the styling of that short?
I think that the style that they chose to do the drawings in was perfect for the content. It was perfect.
It kind of has a storybook feel.
Yes.
It's a very stylized short. It's done in a mix of full animation and limited animation, and or stylized animation. And Disney, even with they did some later films that were very limited.
It wasn't the classic Disney look from that time.
Well, yeah.
But how are you going to do? What was it, like 8 million? Pigs is not about pigs, but about guinea pigs.
Well, it's about guinea pigs and basically
rate of multiplication.
Yeah, from the railroad. No, it's the whether they're pigs because it says guinea pigs, and they're trying to classify it as pigs, and they're saying, well, it's this price, which is 4 cents higher than the pet rate. So it's between 44 cents and 48 cents. And the guy who's picking it up is the guy from the railroad is Irish. And the guy who's picking it up is Scottish. And so I guess they're playing into stereotypes because he's very frugal.
You have the Irishman with his big tufts of orange hair and this bulbous red nose and the brogue to go along with it, and he's the working class. He runs the railroad office, and he's a real stickler for the rules.
Stickler,
you know,
yeah, he doesn't want to.
Because you don't want to go to hell.
Exactly.
You know, whereas
or get fired.
Generally, Scottish people are like, "Oh, I'll be fine." But the wizened old Scotsman comes in to pick up his parcel of a pair of guinea pigs,
right,
as pets.
And they want to charge him the pig rate.
But the
4 cents
stickler
higher.
for the rules, the head of the railroad office, is going to stick to pigs. Pigs
Right.
is pigs. So,
Yeah.
but it's, that you have this miserly, frugal, Scrooge McDuck, that kind of, and not wanting to part with the extra 4 cents.
What's really funny is when they did Scrooge McDuck, they did a cartoon with Scrooge McDuck back in the 60s called Scrooge McDuck and Money. And they did use that same voice actor.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
Because he's the only old Scottish pinch penny in all of the United States.
If you haven't guessed, the voice of that guy, the railroad guy, is the same voice as Jock in Lady and the Tramp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think it's not as heavy. It's, oh, hi, lassie, that type of thing. But it's not. He was also the voice of Droopy Dog, which I don't know if you've seen any of those, without the the Irish accent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So his performance, I believe it's Bill Thompson who did the voice, and he did a lot of voices for Disney and MGM and a lot of other studios. He was on radio a lot at the time, so they would always go to him for different things.
But my point about the limited animation being, it's it's in the spirit of the story and the music and the whimsy,
right?
It's just a playful thing to watch, but also, in limited animation, I think it was the right choice, because how would one fully render? By the time we're done with the story, those 2 guinea pigs that initially were delivered to the railroad office are now like 10 million.
10 million of them.
10 million of them.
They're just multiplying like crazy. Yeah.
It's a lot more than 101 Dalmatians.
There's a lot of clever stuff, like they'll have 2 pigs and then doing like an Irish jig, and then they just go behind like a picture frame and they come out on the other side and they have like 4 pups.
There are more of them.
So,
Very, very, very cheeky and playful and fun, and I really enjoyed watching. I like the colors too.
The colors,
I have to speak about the colors.
The colors are excellent. The Disney films of the 50s are really fun, and they really had the art direction down at that time. I mean, they had the art direction down in the 40s too, but I just think it got better and better over time.
And the expressions of the faces, because what they're really kind of dealing with is the higher up corporate instinct to pass the buck. There was not one individual where the buck stops there. It just keeps getting passed and passed. Meanwhile, these guinea pigs are
multiplying like crazy. Yeah. No, it's a very clever film, and and it's funny how things don't really change too much. A lot of that is still happening today. Where what's really funny is when they finally make a decision. Oh, these are not pigs. It's because they have an expert come in.
They do. They bring in an expert witness to testify.
All the executives at the railroad company, all of a sudden they're putting on their golf packs and they're leaving the office. Their work is done.
They're out and they're all in some version of plaid costume or another.
Yeah. So
very, very, very funny.
Very, very funny.
I like the bits of business as you.
The bits of business are really fun, and so there you go. So let's move on to the next one. So we're going to talk about Bear for Punishment. We're going to talk about that. It's the 3 bears. This is Chuck Jones. He started off with a cartoon called Bugs Bunny and the 3 Bears in the early 40s. And they came back in around 1948. And Mike Maltese, who was an excellent, excellent cartoon writer, very funny, who was teamed up with Chuck Jones at the time, started doing more of these cartoons. And this time they kept Bugs Bunny out of it, but they did a bunch. And one is called Bear's Feet. There's another one called Bedeviled Bruin. And the last one was Bear for Punishment. And
1951.
1951, yeah. So what's great about this cartoon, and it wasn't nominated for an Academy Award. There's some people who either love it or they hate it. They happen to be a favorite. But anyway, the father bear, who is an old grouch, is his wife and his son, who's a big dumb bear. He's like colossal for, what is he, 7 years old or something?
7.5.
7.5.
Still in the diapers.
So anyway, mother and baby bear are trying to, it's Father's Day, and they want to make Papa Bear's day very special. And what happens in this cartoon is basically everything kind of backfires. And so Papa Bear is always he's complaining throughout the whole cartoon, I don't want to sit in front of the fire and read a book,
All nice and cozy.
Oh, nice and cozy. Yeah.
I don't want breakfast in bed. I don't want you to put on a show, read me, recite a poem in my honor, and every single thing that they do seems to just sort of backfire.
Seems to backfire, yeah. And Papa Bear by the end of the cartoon is just like hating every moment of it.
He's done. He's spent.
Yeah. There is
I think the little performance that they put on for him was priceless.
Oh, yeah, at the end. Yeah, they do this patriotic thing, which is kind of crazy at the end. he's just sitting there. Yeah, he's just sitting there, like, hating every second of it. But, of course, there's stuff where, Baby Bear dumps, I guess he trips on a banana or is it a roller skate? Roller skate, and he's carrying, like, his coffee on a tray, and the coffee just ends up all over Papa Bear. And yeah, he's clobbered by it, so he's a little loopy.
Just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
It keeps getting worse and worse. That's the way those cartoons are, anyway.
And the character of the poor mother, I don't know who did her voice, but it's excellent. She's so beleaguered.
Henry,
beaten into submission.
Yeah. Well, you got Papa Bear is Billy Bletcher. Who was he played in a lot of Lauren Hardy comedies, and he was kind of this big grouchy guy, and his voice was well, I don't want to do, it's kind of Disney used him for I guess it was Peg Leg Pete, which was adversary of Mickey Mouse. And there's a famous cartoon called Mr. Mouse Takes a Trip. And basically it's they're trying to stow away on a train. And they lost their tickets or whatever. So anyway, Billy Bletcher plays the Peg Leg Pete character as the train man, and he comes down. He's chasing Mickey throughout the train, So it's... this guy was just known for that big voice. And it was B. Benaderet was the mother bear. So, yeah, she played Henry, but she was on Petticoat Junction. It was a show called Petticoat Junction. She was like one of the main characters. And she died in the 60s. In the middle of that show when that was going on. But she was Betty on the Flintstones for the first couple of seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she was a prolific voice actor, and she did a lot of stuff for radio, and then she did voices for cartoons. Mm-hmm. But she was a regular actress, and she did a lot of other things too. So she was used everywhere.
Do you know who?
And I think I want to say she might have been Granny at the beginning, and then June Foray, who was another voice actor, took over. It might have been, I may have that wrong. So, but I know she did a lot of stuff, B. Benaderet. So, and Junior Bear, the big dumb bear, my paw, that was Stan Freberg, who did a lot of things for radio, did a lot of comedy albums, and he was just doing voices forever. They call him in. I was a young guy when he did that. He was probably in his early 20s when he did the voice of Junior Bear. So, anyway, I think it's a very funny cartoon.
I like the way that the action kind of has this crescendo, and she's the whole time she's very in the background and submissive, and then for the 3-act performance that Mama and Junior put on, it starts off with a poetry recital from Junior, which is hilarious, and then Ma comes out to do a vaudeville dance. And the animation is a lot of fun, that dance.
Yes, the animation is really, really well done in there. And they're just, every dance move, any big sensational dance move that you saw from a movie from the 1940s and early 50s, I think they threw it into this number that she does.
Every single one.
And when you think it can't get any wilder, then it gets wilder. This is the
super cute.
Yeah. The interesting thing here is like the first cartoon we're talking about, Pigs is Pigs, has a definite story. And with these two cartoons we're going to be talking about, or we're talking about this one now, but we're going to be talking about the next one, which is the Tom and Jerry one, don't really have a story. It's just it's a theme. And then they kind of just go along with its gags. I mean, the Tom and Jerry one does have an ending to it, which is it's a great ending to the cartoon. But with this cartoon, it's Father's Day. And they're trying to make Dad feel good, and they're not being successful at all. They're making it horrible. And that is the storyline for this cartoon. But I love it. And it kind of feels like it could have been a Saturday Night Live sketch,
Yes.
But because of the way it is. But anyway, like I said, I love the Three Bears series. This was the last one in 1951. And then I think, in a way, it ends on a big finale with fireworks going off behind Papa Bear, who's kind of looks like the Statue of Liberty when they get through with them. But it might have been their way of saying, yeah, this is it, folks. This is the last one. And it's the big finale.
It's a big finish.
Big finish.
Pomp and circumstance.
Yes.
And trumpets and Sousa band. And
absolutely. So I like it. It's on the one of the platinum discs of the Looney Tunes on Blu-ray, and you can see it there. I don't know. It might be volume 2. All right, let's move on to the third cartoon. We watched the MGM cartoon, Tom and Jerry classic from 1947, called Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mouse. And if you don't know where the source material came from, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I happen to think it's a very, very funny cartoon. And it doesn't get, the characters don't turn into like a monster, because that's basically Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's like he drinks something and he turns into this horrible monster-like character. So the premise of this is very simple. It's basically Jerry is drinking Tom's milk all the time, and Tom tries to hide it. Jerry still gets at it, and he gets infuriated, and he decides to do away with this mouse once and for all. And so he makes a concoction of a lot of different things that
household poisons,
household stuff that you shouldn't be drinking.
Ammonia mothballs,
things labeled
powder,
with skull and
rat
crossbones.
Poison.
Yes, rat poison. Yeah. So anyway, he makes a mixture, and he puts it out for Jerry, and Jerry drinks it, and it has the opposite effect. He turns into this monster, or just a bigger much bigger,
very big, muscular.
Yeah. And Jerry proceeds to beat the crap out of Tom. And it's
very clever. Lots of
in these
doors
cartoons
being
yeah
busted open, and
oh yeah
he takes a whole phone book and rips it
apart.
in half.
Yeah, he's getting
He
hit
has
with
super mouse strength.
He's getting hit with a poker, and basically, it's bending the poker to the shape of his head every time he does it. It's a very funny cartoon. It's one of the few cartoons with Tom and Jerry where Jerry actually beats the living daylights out of Tom, and maybe that's why I like it so much. You've always liked Tom and Jerry cartoons. You've watched them.
I have always loved Tom and Jerry. I think the reason why they really appealed to me was because the music is so fantastic, and it's just cute.
Yeah,
they're what would they do without each other?
I don't know. Tom wanted to get rid of him in this cartoon, so. In later years, they tried to make them more like pals. That didn't appeal to me. That never appealed to anybody. It's a cat and a mouse, for crying out loud. But no, I think Hanna-Barbera handled them really well. I think, Joe was the one that actually did the stories, and Bill timed it out for the animators. And they worked really well together as a team. Tom and Jerry, those cartoons that came out from MGM, 7 of them from 1940 up until when they finished the series, I think 1956, 57, before they went on to do Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear at their own studio. And they were fired from MGM. They had won 7 Academy Awards.
Wow.
So this cartoon was nominated. It didn't win, but it was, they had a couple of cartoons that already won an Oscar at this point. And the next year, Cat Concerto, I think, would take the 3rd Oscar for Best Cartoon of the Year.
Wow. So,
yeah, they just continued on this winning streak, which, I'm sure MGM was very, very happy about. But what's interesting is when they stopped the series and they fired them, Bill and Joe ended up having a wonderful career doing their own cartoons and enriching their lives, and with they made a lot of money, and roughly I want to say 10 years after they sold the studio and made like $12 million. They pocketed $12 million. At the time, it was a lot of money, and they continued to be the heads of the studio.
Oh, fun!
So they ended up retiring when the studio, actually they didn't retire. They worked up until they passed away.
Wow. So
they were reporting to work in their 80s and 90s and kind of crazy. But they were just a winning team. And so this particular cartoon is, I think it's very clever. It ends on a wonderful note because Tom gets hip to this, that Jerry's drinking this stuff and it's making him strong. So he figures he's going to, I guess Jerry's he runs out of the stuff and he's trying to make more of it. And Tom kind of just,
gets into it.
He gets into it and grabs it and throws Jerry out the window or whatever. And he drinks the potion. He doesn't throw him out the window. He just pushes him aside and just drinks it. And then it has the opposite effect.
For a split second, he turns into, this big mighty cat, and then he just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Because Jerry didn't have the formula.
He didn't have the formula.
How many mothballs? How many drops of ammonia?
It might have been the rat poison that.
And he turns into this tiny little cat, and Jerry sends him running, and it's adorable.
Yeah, so he's still beating on him, which is great. So it's a really nice twist at the end.
I've always liked Tom and Jerry. It's simple, but it's witty.
It's very simple. It is clever.
Very, very clever.
Very clever. The sight gags are wonderful.
And Tom's facial expressions are...
Oh, yeah.
The facial animation is amazing.
Yeah, really, really wonderful animation by their team of animators. They would do, I think, between 6 and 9 of those cartoons a year. They didn't do, and when they went to do Yogi Bear cartoons, they're churning out like, at that point, I think they were doing like 60 cartoons a year. So 10 times the amount, somewhere around there.
I never saw Yogi Bear.
You never saw Yogi Bear?
No.
I gotta show. Well, I'm gonna have to show you Yogi Bear now. Kind of fill you in.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
I'll
fun.
Watch it.
They're fun.
They don't all appeal to me. Like, as I was never really into Bugs Bunny or Roadrunner or Elmer Fudd kind of creeps me out a little bit with the giggle. And I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hello, Miss Stewart.
But yeah.
She's recoiling.
I am.
Yes. No, that's funny. I was never a big Elmer Fudd fan. I always liked Yosemite Sam better as an adversary for Bugs Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Elmer Fudd was never like, it was an adversary, but it wasn't my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, all you Elmer Fudd fans out there.
But I definitely have always loved Tom and Jerry, and I never saw this. I never saw that.
Never saw this cartoon.
No, I never saw that one.
Yeah,
and I didn't know anything about the bear family.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I liked those guys.
Yeah, they're fun. So, what was your favorite out of the three? Pigs is Pigs, Bear for Punishment, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mouse.
I think my favorite was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mouse, but the poetry, the
Pigs
is Pigs.
Yeah.
The limerick is so long and witty and funny.
Yeah.
And it's so fast that I know I didn't catch every little bit.
There's a lot
I would want to go back and...
Yeah, it's a fast-paced cartoon. Mm-hmm. And, there are visual things that they do in it that are just really fun.
Lots of
like
gags.
they have the page at the railroad office, the main office, and he's taking papers and he's running toward the camera, and until the point where he fills right up to the button on his chest, just fills the screen, and then it kind of cuts to him from the rear going in down another hallway.
Yes.
From big to small. And I always thought it was a real clever thing because it's just one of those things that, somebody's really thinking visually and they're trying to think of something that's fun that happens, action-wise. And
that's it. It's very fast. There's one really fun action after another.
Right.
Very much like the fight scenes in Peter Pan.
Yeah, exactly.
That you kind of want to go
watch it again
and be like, I know I missed some things because it was so much,
Yeah, and every what I like about Disney films is they always try to do something funny or get a funny visual in every scene. And we're talking about back in the 40s and 50s. They would try to get something interesting. And I mean, Warner Brothers, it was more, they would try to do that too. But it kind of came out of the action. But here they're just trying to get something visual in there that kind of entertained you with the Disney stuff. And it's just the way they operated. With Tom and Jerry, it was just one gag after another, Now
that you've got me watching these things, when I saw Tom and Jerry as a small kid, I didn't pay attention to things like the backgrounds and the detail and the painting and it's really quite nice.
Quite amazing,
yeah,
right?
It is.
Some of the stuff can be absolutely mind-blowing.
All the little details, like... Yeah. They go into, he tries to put his saucer of milk into the fire safe, right?
Right.
But Jerry has made his way into that fire safe. And the little mouse hole that he has the vaulted door. Just tiny little
bits like
details like that. I mean, when you're little and you're just, staring at the TV.
Right.
You're not picking up every single little thing, and
Right.
the painting in the backgrounds really was quite lovely.
Yeah, I think they all stand on their own. They all have, I didn't want to pick something that was apples. I want to pick something that was a little bit different each time. So, Pigs is Pigs, still funny, just a lot of visual humor, a lot of visual gags. Tom and Jerry, just a lot of fast-paced gags, a fairly decent premise and a good punchline to the thing, right?
The twist.
The twist at the end. I mean, Disney has a little twist at the end of Pigs is Pigs. And then Bear for Punishment, which was very, very loose story-wise. But once again, it was just a simple premise that they just milked it, and it kind of just ends at the stage performance on here. All have their merits, all are funny, and that's pretty much it.
I enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Well, thank you for
without
watching.
You, I never would have known these things.
Well, now you see them. There's so much good stuff out there. The one thing I do want to bring up, and I see this mostly, not so much in Tom and Jerry, but in a lot of the Warner Brothers cartoons, you've seen some of the Laurel and Hardy stuff. I've shown you some stuff. And I really believe that they're pulling from some of these comedians at the time, the expressions and situations that would happen. Because I think Laurel and Hardy were doing a live action, and then they kind of picked up on that, going forward. But don't quote me on that. But I see it. I see the influences. Yeah. So, anyway, well, I like good Laurel and Hardy comedy.
It was fun. What did we see? Babes in
I think you watched Babes in Toyland, but I think I showed you some of the other short. I don't remember which ones they were, but they were kind of fun. There was one with a store owner, and they're kind of like compete. It's like the store next to another store. And
yes,
they open up they open up a store, and basically they're destroying each other's property because they get angry at each other, and it's kind of fun. So once again, slapsticky.
Very slapsticky.
Very slapsticky. So anyway, well, thank you for doing this, Marjorie. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me over.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll pick out 3 other things and we'll watch them. I think you still have to do some more Disney features.
I have a lot of the Disney features that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
give me my list. Give me my homework, and I will.
Okay, we'll do that.
Watch it, and then I can come back because I'm learning. I feel like every time I learn more, and it's a fun way to learn.
Eye opener, right?
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah,
it really is.
These people, they got really good with making these cartoons are like 6 minutes, and they got really good at crafting a 6-minute cartoon.
Yeah, but there's so much that happens in the 6 minutes.
Yeah, they cram a lot in there. So anyway, well, thank you for doing that, and
thank you always for having me.
Yeah,
and thank you, listeners, for listening.
There you go. Anyway, next week on the show, we'll have another guest, and we'll have some fun. And I just want to ask all of you, if you have a friend that's interested in cartoons and stuff, tell them about the Cartoonerific podcast. And if you want to subscribe on YouTube, you can subscribe there. You'll be notified every time a brand new Cartoonerific podcast is uploaded for your listening pleasure. So anyway, once again, thank you, Marjorie, for coming on.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all next time. So until then, see ya.
This has been a Cartoonerific Studios presentation.
The Cartoonerific podcast is copyright 2024 by Cartoonerific Studios Incorporated. All rights reserved.